Hi, I'm Greg Treat, Senate Floor Leader. This is week 3, I guess, of session, and week 3 of Between Two Chambers. Joined by Representative Eccles from the House.
Yeah, hi, I'm John Eccles from House District 90, and I serve as the Majority Floor Leader for the Oklahoma House of Representatives, and we enjoy bringing you this video update every week.
Yeah, it's been fun so far. We haven't had any fisticuffs yet.
Not yet, we're working on it.
Waiting for it. No, we had a busy week this week. We had a very long appropriation meeting where we dealt with Real ID, had a fairly long education meeting where we dealt with ESAs or education savings accounts. In the Senate, those are the things that dominated most of our time this week.
Absolutely. This week in the House was a very productive week. We're still during this part of the schedule, it's what's called committee time in the House of Representatives. Next week is the last week to have your bill heard in committee. If it's not heard in committee, it can't be heard on the floor. And then we will have 3 weeks of just floor work. So it's a busy time for committees. We still hear bills on the floor during that time. We had some victims' rights things that came through, passed an HJR that we put the Victims' Bill of Rights on the ballot in 2018. It was a productive week.
It was, and we had some victims' rights bills that I ran in committee on Thursday. We got unanimous support, bipartisan support for victims of domestic violence and trying to train law enforcement on how to deal with those really precarious situations. It was a task force recommendation by the governor's criminal justice task force, which myself and Representative O'Donnell, as you know, sat on, but also the public defender, the district attorneys, members of the Y who brought some of the domestic violence side of it to us, judges from around the state. It was a wide, diverse group, and we passed a lot of criminal justice bills this week as well.
Absolutely, and as we've talked about in the past, criminal justice reform, what we're going to be doing with those issues, that's going to be a hot topic this session. We've had one of the really hot issues we're dealing with in the House is House Bill, I think it's 1482.
I don't know bill numbers.
Yeah, I don't either. I always jokingly when I tell members, I only memorize the first 1,000. After that, you got to tell me. But it's a bill dealing with drug-free school zones. We've had a lot of debate. I mean, I would say I've received in my office well over 1,000 emails a day on that issue. It did come out of committee. We're still looking at that issue. We're still analyzing how do you make sure that you comply with the will of the voters? Because I think that's the issue here. The voters have told us what they want to do with criminal justice reform, the direction they want to go, and we're analyzing how do we do that? How do we keep drugs out of school, but make sure we're doing it in a way that respects the voters. The voters are smart. They know what they're doing.
They are, and they know the current trajectory in the prison population is we're going to have to build 3 more prisons if we don't do anything.
That's right.
And so we want to make sure we maintain public safety, but be smart on crime, get people treatment that need treatment. And you'll see all these bills progress. I don't know how far the pendulum will swing.
Yep.
I know there's some people that are concerned about how far that pendulum will swing, and we're still in negotiations between the House, Senate, and Governor's office, and trying to bring law enforcement district attorneys into the equation as well.
Absolutely. What we bring in these videos is try to help you understand what the process is like. And just because a bill is filed that way, it's difficult to make a law. Again, a law, you and I have talked about this, that's us telling you, the viewer, what to do. We're taking away your liberty. That should be difficult, and the way things are filed are not always the way they end up.
No, not at all, and we have deadlines to file, we have deadlines to get out of committee. That's a good segue into the education savings account. One of the things that I've heard from my constituents who are concerned about that, I believe very strongly that parents should be able to direct the education of their children. And I believe very strongly in public schools. My kids go to public schools. I'm a product of public school myself. And I'm blessed with really great public schools in Senate District 47. But I also know that kids around the state don't have those same educational opportunities that my kids have. Sometimes they're stuck in poverty. Sometimes they're stuck in schools that are in abject poverty. Senator Standridge from Norman ran a bill this week. I think it passed out, I believe it was 9-7. I did cast a vote for it. I believe you're the House author on it. But there's some work that needs to be done on that. No offense, I know you're the author.
None taken.
But you talking about the process, one of the things that is important for people to realize, he took the title off. This is a procedural move that invalidates the bill. We have to get it back on if we want it to go forward. It's the first week of committee. It's doubly assigned. It's also got to go to appropriation. So there's a lot of steps in the process to safeguard and make sure we improve that bill. But the underlying philosophy of giving parents the choice to direct their kids' future is an extremely important value that I hold dear to me.
Well, absolutely, and this is one of those issues, and as the House author, I've gotten some emails on that. I've made sure people understood when you're the House author of a Senate bill or when you're the Senate author of a House bill, It means you agree with the concept, but maybe not necessarily the entire bill. That's an opportunity to let that go forward. As we keep talking in education, we talk a lot about the teacher pay raise, and the House passed their 1, 2, 3 plan out of committee, 1,000 this year, 2,000 next, 3,000 the third. I know the Senate has passed a plan.
Yes, we passed the plan as well.
That's right, we're still working on. But the next step of that, the part of education that is on fire is we have to get our teachers a pay raise. We have to make sure educators understand we respect them, we appreciate them. But the next step in education is making sure that we look at per pupil expenditure. How do we get that to a higher number? Where do we go? And part of that discussion, all wrapped in there together, is the idea of parents' choice and what are we going to do? And I'll never shy away of a discussion of this or any other issue, and I think it's worth deciding, or it's worth having, but teachers and educators need to understand, I believe that is part of the overall discussion. I know you do too, Senator, that we have to make sure we do it in a way that supports public schools, that gets a teacher pay raise, that looks at overall expenditures, and what is or overall per pupil expenditures, and what is still shaping up to be a tough budget year.
Oh, absolutely. Our future is bleak if we don't support public schools.
That's right.
And we have to support public schools. You and I are both going to do that. People have different ideas how to improve it, and we're keeping the discussion alive, moving it forward. This week we also dealt with a number of other issues. I know that there's been a lot of budget talk. I no longer am the Vice Chairman of Appropriations, and thankful for that every day. But it's an important thing. I still want to keep abreast of it. It's something that people sent me up here to watch the state budget. And I know, per the Constitution, all the revenue-raising things have to be considered in the House before they even come over. I'm interested to know what the budget discussion is on the House side.
Absolutely. I'm sure you hate the fact that we have to do revenue-raising first.
Yes.
It's one of the hard parts about being a senator. So anyway, no, all joking aside, the budget has dominated this session, as it always does. Leader Treat and I both have to lead the policy agendas for our respective houses, but to the extent things hit the floor, that's where we are very involved in the budgetary process. In what order are we going to do things? The House of Representatives has led on some hard votes. A cigarette tax did come out of committee. Now that being said, there's kind of been a little bit of the brakes pushed on that. The caucus is looking at every form of government efficiency we can find, any form of agency consolidation we can find, anytime, one-time monies, and honestly, I think that's a misnomer. Like one-time, every-time monies that we've used really to balance the budget for the last 20 years. We're looking at all of those issues, and then there's going to be an analysis of what we have to do, and do we have to do revenue-raising measures. Now, I haven't voted for a tax increase since I've been up here. That has not been my policy. That's not what I ran on. I think the citizens are taxed enough, and I think it's important to remember, if the economy of the state of Oklahoma is hurting, that's because my citizens and our brothers and our neighbors and our sisters and our parents, they're hurting. That's where we get our money. We get our money from the citizens of the state. So before we look to tax them anymore in any other measure, even on something as popular as the cigarette tax, we've got to determine, what are we doing for the wind tax credit? What are we doing for other tax credits? What are we doing on corporate giveaways that aren't making money for the state of Oklahoma? Where can we find those efficiencies and consolidations? And I believe we have unprecedented coordination between the Senate and the House, or the Senate and the House right now. And I think we're going to find those things. And I would tell you, I think revenue-raising measures, you're looking at JCAP bills.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case as well. We did take up wind tax credits, trying to accelerate the sunset, which means they go away quicker and start getting money back into the Treasury and not giving it away year after year. We also dealt with the income tax trigger in appropriations this year, which we wanted to make sure that the trigger that would lower income taxes is based on real numbers, not based on numbers that don't have anything to do with the budget. It's kind of a technical term, but you'll see that work through the process. I know we're kind of running long on time, or more longer than we have before, but we probably ought to talk about Real ID. Real ID, I think the Senate Appropriations Committee took 2.5 hours of intense deliberation, questions. Senator David presented that bill on behalf of Senator Schultz, and I know you and Senator Schultz and Pro Tem Schultz and Senator Holt have been working together on that, along with Senator Fields and David. And you may give the viewers some idea on what's going on that. We did pass it with 9 no votes, overwhelming support. We're going to see that on the floor probably next week.
Yeah, and I want to be transparent in my feelings. I think Real ID as a federal law is a bad idea. a bad idea. I think it should have been repealed, and I wish we didn't have to deal with it. But the reality is, at this point, we do. We have to do something about it. So what we have done is created a 2ID system. If you don't want to be part of the Real ID system, you can have your old ID. If you want to be part of it, you can get a Real ID. And I can't stress this enough to the citizens, though. Well, it won't be till about 2 years before it's implemented. You do not have to go get a passport. We will continue to have extensions. You will continue to be able to board planes. Those things are going to happen, and that was the importance of this.
It's important. It's also important on our military bases for contractors to get on those military bases, and they're so critical to our economy and also to our national defense. And thank you for your work on that, and I thank my colleagues for helping get that out. I think that about concludes it. I know we're on a time crunch. Do you have anything else?
No, it's been a great week, and we look forward to seeing you next week.